Well, hello, we are with Chris and Brian from DIPTEK. Hey guys, how are you?
Good, thanks, Paul.
Good. Yep. Guys, just to open up the interview and have a chat, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yep, so Brian and myself are mining engineers, been in the game quite a while now, Brian a little longer. Yeah, mostly operations based on site, so iron ore, gold, lithium, what else? Mineral sands, bit of everything over the years. We formed DIPTEK, I guess, in the beginning to fill the need that we saw in the drill and blast space. So everything else generates a lot of data, and a lot of that data is captured. But the drill and blast space is very much still probably doing what they did back in the 80s, maybe before then. And essentially from then, just trying to develop products and solutions for customers in that space.
Cool. And who's your main target customer for those that aren't familiar with Western Australia and the mining industry?
Our target customers, so the mine owner. So while we work with drill and blast contractors a lot, our real target is the mine owner, or the people that hold the deposit or the keys to the major profitability and sales. So the reason that's our predominant customer is those are the guys that have the ability to unlock the most value from knowing that data, as opposed to those that are using the data in the operational space. But it's kind of that deep data that we're looking for in the grand scheme of things.
And what's the thing that motivated you the most to get you to this point?
You can probably speak more to that one. The not having a lot of answers. So I guess Brian's worked in the field. Brian's a little bit more specialized in the drill and blast space than I am, but you could get to a certain point with what was already out there, and then you have to stop and sort of just ask the question, well, if I had more information and it was more robust and reliable, I could go that next step and kind of get us to where we would like to be. But constantly over I guess our careers, you got stuck at the point where you had to just give up, understand what you couldn't, you just didn't know. So we set about understanding how to understand that gap and then win that gap. And it's just interesting. I mean, it's kind of like, always having that last piece of the puzzle that you can't find, looking under things, and you just can't finish the puzzle until you have those pieces. So we set about building that final puzzle piece, and that's kind of been a fairly decent challenge, to be honest. But once we're getting there, it fits in the puzzle now, and now it's just making it look like all the other pieces, I guess.
So you found a nice gap in the market that people hadn't explored or exploited previously, found the opportunity, developed the business to satisfy the need. What's been the biggest challenge on the journey for you?
I guess, so probably like most startups, it's your day job side of things. So the ability to work only on the problem, as opposed to the other problems of as a small enterprise, just the general challenges of keeping things ticking over. So in between then, Brian and I are still working in the industry, which we really enjoy. It's a little bit different now, working from the sort of a consulting side of things. But all that work is just reiterating the work that we have been doing to fill that final gap. So challenges of just scale and the simple jobs, learning payroll. A couple of engineers learning payroll is a bit tricky. What else? Marketing. Brian's our chief marketing officer. Buying uniforms, designing logos, things that probably are maybe as an engineer you feel a little bit less tangible, but they do make a big difference when you're a small business trying to grow and get customers.
Absolutely. And in that journey, is there something that you would do differently if you started again?
What do you reckon? Move faster, I think, is one that we often talk about. If we had to move faster, we feel in the very beginning we had a significant lead over sort of all our competitors in the solution. But over that time period, there's other people have been working on similar problems. And while patterns are good, obviously they also expose what you've got out there. So we felt like we could have moved faster, but at the same time, moving at the speed we've moved at has allowed us to learn a lot along the way and refine our product and our offering from what was originally a product, kind of a whole system and service and offering to the client. So they can actually, instead of just plugging in a small section, we offer that rather more substantial value chain, I guess.
And what's the next step for you guys? Given the journey you've had and where you're at, what's the next step?
So we're off to Texas Wednesday to sort of get some input from the international market, which would be nice to have. And the next step, I guess, is refining that last bit and getting it to market. So we've got some good client relationships now. So we will pick up. We'll hopefully have a few contracts bedded down shortly, which will enable us to deliver real value over a long term. So we've had several to date, which have helped us refine the technology. But really, we're at that point now. We're kind of doing the last, we hope 5 to 10%, and maybe that's a little bit more catered towards a specific client. So that'll be quite enjoyable, to be honest, to get to that stage and give them the value and show that, and hopefully they can see the value. We'll explain that. So that's kind of the next step for us.
And is it a case of the last 5 to 10% is the thing that takes the longest, or do you think that's pretty fast to market?
Well, yeah. Well, we so probably one of the key differences from us that we felt, everybody doing hardware. So we do hardware and software as opposed to just software. And hardware is expensive and hard, and especially in the environment. So the environments are basically the most intense on the planet, probably, which is nice to have in our local market. You can go to the Pilbara and it's 45 degrees in the shade, if you can find shade. But making hardware survive in that environment has just been tricky, and getting it to first survive and then build the software and the workflow. So the user workflows are something that very easy to actually build a system, a software system that handles the 90% of use case, probably 95% of use cases very easily, very streamlined. But that last 5% takes 90% of the time. So we're really just building around that now, and that's why the long trials and partnerships with sort of our clients is helping us. All right, well, what do you guys need to help us give you that solution?
And do you see yourselves as more of a local supplier or a global supplier to the market?
We want to stay. I mean, we're fortunate enough to live in probably the largest mining environment, local mining environment. In WA, let alone Australia, there's lots of things going on over east as well. But the internationally, we view that the model actually changes a lot. So our model is heavily on our labor element. In Australia is quite substantial. So we've tried to make products that are really great for that labor, but also our clients want the solution in the way they want their solution. That's not necessarily the same in international markets. So again, something that the trip to Texas will hopefully help sort of us refine a little bit more as to what other solutions that aren't ours but are similar to ours in respect to what the value aspects that they're delivering. We can get that sort of feedback and understand what business structures or services or hire will work.
Super exciting. Was there a point in the journey where you were just about ready to give up?
Yeah, so probably the quitting of our day jobs was probably a big move. Just because to make that move from a paycheck on time. I don't think there's too many people that in life, if they're fortunate enough to let go of the last monkey bar before you grab the next one.
Yep.
but sort of letting go and, I guess walking the rest of the way it's been a bit of a change, but something I really enjoy, and you feel the same. Where we get to see a lot more sites, a lot more customers, a lot more validation of our business case, that the reason why we left. And just, I mean, you can't recommend it to everybody because it doesn't work that way. But just the mindset and the time in the industry now, it's kind of suited. Well, couldn't probably have left any sooner, and any later. And I think as well, probably starts to be a bit of a challenge being an employee, as opposed to sort of taking your own future and helping other employees. I think that's the relationship I really like, is supporting sites. From close and afar, which is good.
Yeah, awesome. And I suppose the last question from me is, what is inspiring you at the moment? Like, who or what? Is there a particular thing that is driving you, particular person that's motivating you, or particular cause that you believe in that's pushing you forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of consolidation happening in the industry now between some of the bigger players and small players. They're sort of seeing the value in some of that technology that's coming through. While that in itself is interesting, because it's they're trying to at least move forward. I guess it's just the industry. I think it's called Industry 3.0 sort of thing, or maybe 2.0, maybe we're up to 3.0. But just that whole doing things a lot more efficiently than we did before. The next step is not just understanding what we did, but it's how to get more bang for doing exactly the same thing that we did before with small tweaks, and squeezing every penny, squeezing every ton of CO2 that we have to produce in the interim till we have net zero or whatever, that pathway that we're headed on. It's all that final bit, because there's some big problems that are going to be solved, but the last of the easy ones really should be solved before we work on these major market-changing ones. Through all the hydrogen and electrification and all that sort of side of things. So, I think what's your driving purpose still?
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you there, mate.
Oh no, I think Chris summed it up there.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And have you got any words of wisdom for someone else heading down the same pathway as yourself, heading into business and giving up their daytime job and got a dream of what they want to create? What's the bit of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, probably I guess have a little bit of breathing room. So two things, maybe breathing room one, and networking the other one. Probably wasn't the biggest fan of I guess the term networking prior, but most of our work comes from word of mouth or conversations. I enjoy going to conferences a lot more now, and it's not just beneficial for obviously myself, but there's usually a mutual exchange. And that's perhaps what I missed as an employee. It was always kind of vendors selling to you, and maybe hit and miss sometimes. But as a vendor now, and not necessarily always trying to sell, but just have a conversation as to what are your problems and can we help? We solve lots of problems for them, but the networking side of things is something that some people are really good at it beforehand, but definitely when you are transitioning, become good at it. Have your mentors and your people that have done it or have concerns, and talk to them and sort of understand. And so people have been great. Lots of support from lots of people in the industry, on the fringe of the industry. Not support from everybody, which is probably something as well that not everybody's out there to help you. It's probably a great lesson to learn as well. It's a competitive environment. That is what it is. But there's definitely good people out there, and even good people that can't necessarily help you because of conflicts of interest or things like that as well, that will try and steer you in the right direction. So probably those two things, and enough breathing room to find your niche perfectly, because it's not always what you set out to do at the beginning.
Yeah, it can move quite a bit, can't it? It can move quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, gentlemen. Appreciate your time, and thanks so much for your words of wisdom.
Thank you very much.